My daughter is now dating the impoverished student I've been sponsoring. I had no idea until I saw photos on my daughter's phone I had personally let a wolf into my house. My daughter snatched the phone back, shouting, "I am with Chen Qi, and we're in love. If you don't agree to this, I'll cut ties with you as my mother." Such smooth, practiced words. They must have rehearsed this quite a few times. I smiled. I built my fortune from scratch and now own a company worth billions. I'm not someone easily threatened. If you want to cut ties, go ahead. After all, I'm about to remarry anyway. My daughter, Ting, is fair-skinned and beautiful, a soon-to-be graduate student at a top university with countless suitors. Yet, she ended up with Chen Qi, the impoverished student I've been sponsoring. I found out because she got a new phone. While transferring family photos from her old phone to mine, I stumbled upon those compromising pictures of the two. There were also countless transfer records showing Chen Qi asking my daughter for meal money, living expenses, and gaming funds. So, not only did I raise an ingrate, but my daughter is also throwing herself at this man? Mom, I hope you won't be like those other parents who look down on the poor. I'm going to marry Chen Qi. Suppressing my anger, I asked, "Marry Chen Qi, a vocational school student, and you, a soon-to-be graduate student from a top 985 university. You want to marry him?" Ting replied casually, "I can drop out. It's not like our family doesn't have a company. Both Chen Qi and I can work there. He can start as a manager." My anger instantly dissipated, replaced by a sense of bitter irony. Perhaps it's for the best if my daughter doesn't pursue that graduate degree after all. She clearly lacks judgment. I smiled faintly. "Well, you've miscalculated. Our company won't be ours for much longer. I'm getting remarried." Ting froze, her eyes wide. "What did you say? Remarried?" As I turned to leave, I suddenly remembered something. "Oh, I forgot to mention. You're both adults now, so I won't be covering your living expenses anymore. I don't want my new husband to be unhappy. Please pass that along to Chen Qi." After closing the door, I took out my phone and called my secretary, instructing him to freeze all of Chen Qi and Ting's cards, especially Ting's. Moments later, my secretary informed me that while Ting's cards had been frozen, Chen Qi's account was already empty. He had withdrawn all the money in advance. Chen Qi was a child from a mountainous region that my husband and I sponsored after we made our fortune. My husband, who also came from a poor background, had once received help himself and wanted to pay it forward. We visited the mountains, and my husband was drawn to Chen Qi because the boy reminded him of his own childhood, dressed in ragged clothes but with bright, intelligent eyes. I, however, had my eye on a little girl who lived with her grandmother in a village cowshed. My heart ached for her the moment I saw her. Back then, the village chief subtly advised us to sponsor the little girl instead. We initially agreed, but the very next day, the girl went missing. The whole village searched for her, but we had to rush back to the city that afternoon to handle paperwork, so we ended up sponsoring Chen Qi instead. On the day we left, Chen Qi stared intently at Ting, whom I was holding by the hand. When he noticed me looking, he flashed a big smile. "Goodbye, uncle and aunt." "Goodbye, little sister." In the car, Ting muttered that Chen Qi's gaze felt strange. At the time, I patted her head and said, "Chen Qi is a poor child. He probably envies your life. When you grow up, you should help others too." But I didn't realize then Chen Qi wasn't envious. What he wanted was to take everything for himself. I used to like Chen Qi. He was clever and sweet-tongued, always sending us thank you cards after receiving money and repeatedly expressing his desire to move to the city, earn money, and repay us. But my impression of him soured after his college entrance exams. My husband and I had sponsored Chen Qi for over a decade. After failing his first attempt at the exams, Chen Qi wrote me 3 heartfelt letters, pleading to come to the city for extra tutoring so he could get into a good university. Seeing his abysmally low scores, I assumed it was due to the poor educational resources in the mountains. So, I brought him to the city and enrolled him in an expensive top-tier intensive training program, where he would study alongside my daughter for the next year's exams. That year, my daughter Ting was accepted into a prestigious local university, while Chen Qi only managed to get into a local vocational school. Furious, I demanded an explanation from the training program, only to learn from the teachers that Chen Qi never paid attention in class. Instead, he spent his time flirting with the girls, even causing several top-performing female students to underperform. When I confronted Chen Qi, he claimed the teachers were lying. He insisted they looked down on him because he was poor and had spread rumors about him, and that his classmates had treated him the same way. His pitiful expression softened my heart once again. Back then, I didn't realize how skilled he had become at lying. The first day after freezing their cards, everything was calm. On the second day, Ting sent me expensive gifts to the office, claiming Chen Qi had picked them out. They seemed carefully chosen. Is this how children try to win favor? I accepted the gifts but didn't respond to her messages. On the third day, Chen Qi finally couldn't hold back and messaged me, asking to meet. That was exactly what I had been waiting for. I went to the place Chen Qi had booked, the city's finest high-end Western restaurant. He even remembered I liked Western food. When I arrived, Chen Qi and Ting were already seated, holding hands. I felt like the villain trying to tear them apart. Seeing me, Chen Qi quickly stood up, greeting me warmly as auntie. Ignoring his pleasantries, I cut straight to the point. What do you want to discuss? Chen Qi was surprisingly forthright. Auntie, I assume you've heard about Ting and me, but I genuinely love her and want to give her a happy family. I smiled. So, you two really plan to marry? Yes. Though I know my poor background makes me unworthy of your daughter, since when do men talk like green tea be chased too? Ting, her eyes red, spoke up first. Mom, you've known Chen Qi for years. He's a good man, and I really love him. I want to marry Chen Qi. Who says you're not worthy? I think you two are a perfect match. Chen Qi and Ting exchanged glances, and a faint smile appeared on Chen Qi's lips. Auntie, we plan to marry right after Ting graduates. She doesn't want to pursue graduate studies anymore. I'm sure you'll respect her decision, right? I nodded. That's perfect. If you can take care of Ting, my sponsorship won't have been in vain. But when did you two start dating? My naive daughter, seeing my cheerful expression, thought I fully approved of them and blurted out. During our last year of high school. Chen Qi's expression changed instantly, and he elbowed my daughter sharply. My daughter winced in pain, then realized her mistake. I narrowed my eyes. Last year of high school, 5 years ago, my husband couldn't withstand a bankruptcy crisis and jumped to his death. He left me with massive debts, but after his passing, I single-handedly saved his failing company and grew it into a billion-dollar enterprise. Over the years, I worked tirelessly, sleeping less than 5 hours a day, all to provide a good life for Ting. But I didn't do all this just to hand it over to someone else. It finally dawned on me it was my daughter who suggested letting Chen Qi stay with us after the exams. That summer after the exams, I asked the housekeeper to prepare a room for Chen Qi to stay in. At the time, my company was at its busiest, and I was constantly negotiating contracts, completely unaware of when Chen Qi and Ting had grown so close. By the time I noticed, Ting had already spent over 200,000 yuans of my money on Chen Qi during that summer alone. From designer clothes and shoes to high-end computers and watches, I barely recognized the once shy, awkward mountain boy now dressed head to toe in luxury brands. I confiscated Ting's cards and scolded her, then told Chen Qi that these items would be considered gifts for starting school. I would cover his vocational school tuition, but he would have to earn his own living expenses from then on. Chen Qi's expression darkened, but he forced a smile and said, "Understood. Thank you, Auntie." So, the signs were there all along. I was the one who had led the wolf into my home. I glanced at the menu Chen Qi had ordered from me. He had chosen almost the most expensive dishes, including several bottles of private reserve red wine costing tens of thousands each. Taking in his head-to-toe designer outfit, I smirked inwardly. Before coming, I had my secretary investigate Chen Qi. I learned that his performance in school was terrible. He had applied for the highest level of financial aid as a needy student but was reported by classmates for his extravagant spending. Meanwhile, I had given my daughter a generous allowance, yet she frequently complained it wasn't enough and asked for more. It wasn't hard to guess where the money was going. Ting said, "Mom, Chen Qi is about to graduate, and jobs are hard to find these days. Why not let him gain experience at our newly opened company? He can start as a manager. We're family. After all, we shouldn't treat him too shabbily. Eventually, he can take over." I cut her off. Ting, do you know why I'm remarrying? Ting looked at me incredulously. Wasn't that just something you said in anger? Chen Qi squeezed her hand and smiled. Your mom is testing us. Did you really take it seriously? My eyes welled up as I mustered the right emotions. Our company has been in trouble for a while. I discovered financial discrepancies last year, and with failed project investments, we're on the verge of bankruptcy. There's only one way out. An old acquaintance of mine, Mr. Lin from Juxing Group, has always had feelings for me. My condition for marrying him is that his company acquires ours, transferring the debt crisis. Ye Ting paled. No, that can't be true. Why didn't you tell me earlier if our family was in trouble? I placed Ye Ting's hand in Chen Qi's. You were still in school, how could I have told you back then? But now it's fine. With you two getting married, I can finally rest easy. Ye Ting snapped. I won't allow you to remarry. Just then, Chen Qi grabbed her hand and shot her a warning look. I watched coldly, wondering how I had raised such a knave daughter. When the food arrived, I called the server over and asked them to open all the expensive wines. After a few bites, a debt collection call came through. I intentionally put it on speaker, letting Chen Qi and Ye Ting hear the demands for repayment. Pretending to panic, I told them I had to return to the office to handle the situation and that they should enjoy their meal. Before leaving, I feigned anxiety and said, "Oh, since you invited me to this meal, I'll take advantage of your kindness, okay?" Given my current situation, Chen Qi's expression darkened, and he choked out, Of course." I gave him a grateful smile, stood up, and left. Did he really think I would pay for this meal? After leaving the restaurant, I told my secretary to keep an eye on Chen Qi. To make the act convincing, he would surely try to gather information about the company in the coming days. My secretary replied, "Don't worry, I've got it covered." To be honest, I wasn't entirely lying. My company was indeed being acquired. It had faced operational difficulties last year, leading to a sharp drop in stock prices. Recent layoffs and negative news had only added to the panic. But all of this was part of my plan. How else would I get Juxing Group to acquire it? After all, the largest shareholder of the renowned Juxing Group is none other than me. On Monday, my company's stocks plummeted, and local headlines were flooded with news of my impending bankruptcy. For a while, I became the talk of the town. My secretary informed me that a young man had indeed been snooping around the company, trying to gather inside information, but he had been chased away. He got the answers he was looking for. By the way, has our guest arrived? My secretary nodded and clapped his hands. A fair-skinned, delicate-looking girl, around the same age as Ting Ting, walked in. Dressed in a white blouse and jeans, she entered timidly but lit up with joy when she saw me. I opened my arms, and the girl flew into my embrace like a fledgling bird returning to its nest. I stroked her back. "Jiayu, you're finally here." After that day, Ye Ting and I had a massive fight at home over my remarriage plans. "If you remarry, don't expect me to call you mom anymore," I replied coldly. "Fine. Your future stepfather, Mr. Lin, has a daughter of his own. She'll take your place. By the way, when are you and Chen Qi getting married? I don't need a dowry. Just hurry up and have him marry you so you can move out of this house." Mr. Lin has been asking about it repeatedly. Ye Ting was furious. Not only that, I also called Chen Qi, urging him to take Ting Ting to get their marriage certificate as soon as possible. At first, he hesitated, but once news of my company's troubles broke, he stopped answering my calls altogether. 2 weeks later, Juxing Group announced the acquisition of my company. At the acquisition banquet, I made a grand entrance in a haute couture gown, and for the first time, Ye Ting was not by my side. Taking her place was Lin Jiayu. All eyes in the room were drawn to Jiayu, who followed behind me, graceful and elegant. Dressed in a custom white gown, she looked regal and radiant. Former business partners asked me who the girl by my side was. I took the opportunity to announce publicly on stage that Lin Jiayu was the company's newly appointed director and also my goddaughter. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air. "Who did you say she is?" I turned to see Ye Ting, wearing a pink gown, unexpectedly at the venue, with Chen Qi by her side. I feigned anger. "What are you doing here? Who invited you?" Ignoring my question, Ye Ting walked up to Lin Jiayu. Jiayu smiled sweetly at her and turned to me. "Mom, who is this sister?" Ye Ting completely lost it. "Who said you could call her mom?" She raised her hand to slap Jiayu across the face, but I grabbed her wrist and slapped her instead. Slap! Ye Ting froze. She looked up at me, disbelief written all over her face. "Mom," I replied coldly. "Don't call me mom. From now on, my only daughter is Jiayu. She's my fiance's daughter, and she'll be my only daughter from now on." Lin Jiayu smiled at Ye Ting and extended her hand. "Hello. So you're Ye Ting. Your personality really lives up to the rumors." Ye Ting stared at us with hatred. "So it's true. You really don't want me anymore." With a stomp of her foot, Ye Ting ran off crying. But Chen Qi, who had been hiding nearby, didn't chase after her. The acquisition celebration lasted late into the night. After it ended, Lin Jiayu was waiting for me in the car. I asked, "Well, any progress today?" Lin Jiayu replied, "Just as you predicted." While serving the wine, Chen Qi kept staring at me. Later, he accidentally spilled wine on my dress and used it as an excuse to strike up a conversation. I smiled. Just as I thought. The fish has taken the bait. Once he sets his sights on you, he'll do everything he can to contact you. Lin Jiayu nodded. But Auntie, aren't we being a bit too harsh? Not at all. I should have taught Tingting this lesson a long time ago. She must face the consequences of her choices. If I continue to spoil and indulge her, letting Chen Qi manipulate her, I'll ruin her life. I took a deep breath. This is the perfect opportunity to show her what kind of man Chen Qi really is. Will he still love her without money? Lin Jiayu nodded and added, but Chen Qi hasn't changed at all. It seems he didn't recognize me. I knew Jiayu harbored deep hatred for Chen Qi, because back then, the little girl I had instantly taken a liking to, the one who mysteriously disappeared the day after we agreed to sponsor her, was Lin Jiayu, and her disappearance was entirely Chen Qi's doing. Lin Jiayu was younger than Chen Qi back then and not as clever. After Chen Qi realized he might not be chosen for sponsorship, he hatched a wicked plan. He tricked Jiayu, telling her there was edible food in the mountains and that he could take her to it. Jiayu's grandmother was in poor health, so Jiayu immediately followed Chen Qi when she heard about the food. Later, Chen Qi returned to the village alone, while Jiayu had accidentally fallen into an abandoned shallow well. She wasn't found by the villagers until after we had left. I never forgot about that little girl. After our financial situation improved, I privately contacted the village chief and found Jiayu again. By then, she was on the verge of dropping out of school. Back then, everyone assumed her disappearance was an accident. But Jiayu's grandmother, who already had a heart condition, passed away from shock after learning her granddaughter was missing. This became a permanent scar in Jiayu's heart. I sponsored Lin Jiayu through university. She would often send me local specialties as tokens of gratitude. But as work grew increasingly busy, we never met in person. It was until I discovered Chen Qi's ulterior motives toward my daughter that I finally paused to reflect. What was the point of working myself to the bone every day? I hadn't even raised my daughter properly. I was completely unaware of everything happening in her life. That's when I remembered Lin Jiayu. I specifically asked my secretary to bring her to me. The girl I had sponsored had transformed from a plain, rustic child into an elegant young woman. Education truly can change a person's demeanor and appearance. When I told Jiayu about Tingting's situation, she revealed the truth about how Chen Qi had harmed her years ago. Earlier, I had asked my secretary to use all available resources to investigate Chen Qi. The results left me both shocked and speechless. Despite graduating from a vocational school, Chen Qi had pursued more than just Tingting. With his decent looks, he managed to maintain relationships with several girls simultaneously. And these girls all shared one characteristic: they were all from wealthy families. He only pursued girls with money. He even packaged himself as a rich second-generation heir to impress wealthy girls. Whenever he ran short of money, he would return to Tingting for more. Lin Jiayu asked me in confusion, if he has so much time to chase rich girls, why doesn't he invest that effort into improving himself and earning those things on his own? I replied calmly, those who have tasted the ease of unearned gains can never settle down and work hard for themselves. He is the perfect example. Ye Ting's sweet romance soon hit a crisis. She spent her days staring blankly at her phone. Occasionally, when she called Chen Qi, the conversations would escalate into arguments. Once, I overheard Ye Ting sobbing to Chen Qi, "You're only acting cold because I don't have money anymore, right? I don't have an allowance either now, but we can work part-time. And what about you? You think I don't see all those beautiful girls you follow on TikTok? You said you'd only love me. Chen Qi, please. I was wrong. Don't ignore me, okay? You weren't like this before." I nearly choked on my water. I had focused so much on developing Tingting's intelligence growing up, but I never expected her to end up with such a love-struck mentality. Following the data trail from Tingting's old phone, I quickly found Chen Qi's TikTok account. Lin Jiayu promptly registered a TikTok account as well, and I followed her immediately. Jiayu's account posted the kind of content typical of wealthy girls attending high-end events, receiving limited edition bags, photos with celebrities, all tagged with the local city. Arranging these things was naturally a piece of cake for me. Within 2 days, Chen Qi's profile appeared among Jiu's followers. He liked almost every one of her videos but never commented. Until Jiu posted a video saying, "My birthday is coming up soon. I'm so jealous of girls who get to celebrate with their boyfriends. Can someone send me a boyfriend this year?" Finally, Chen Qi sent Jiu a private message. He claimed he had stumbled upon her video by chance and was surprised to see it was Jiu. What a coincidence. He mentioned that his birthday was also coming up. He had planned to celebrate with his girlfriend, but she had broken up with him just yesterday. He didn't want to eat cake alone and asked if he could give his cake to Jiu instead. Jiu looked at the screen, took screenshots, and sent them to me. Huh? Broke up? My naive daughter was still dreaming of a lifelong romance with him, completely unaware she had already been dumped. Chen Qi and Lin Jiu quickly established contact. After chatting for a while, Chen Qi suggested meeting up. When Lin Jiu saw Chen Qi, she pretended to be surprised. "Aren't you Ye Ting's boyfriend from that day?" Chen Qi also feigned sudden realization. "It's you?" Jiu and Chen Qi hit it off quickly. Chen Qi was indeed smooth-tongued, capable of making any girl swoon. He claimed he had broken up with Tingting a long time ago but hadn't made it public because Tingting was emotionally unstable and he didn't want to upset her. He also said that the first time he saw Jiu at the banquet, he was struck by her beauty and couldn't believe their fateful connection. Chen Qi began pursuing Jiu frantically, assuring her that he had completely cut ties with Tingting. But in reality, Chen Qi hadn't broken up with Tingting. You only discard the old bait once you're sure the new fish is hooked. Jiu pretended not to know and started playing hard to get, making Chen Qi fall deeper for her. My naive daughter, who never even let Chen Qi buy her a single rose, had no idea he would buy 999 rose baskets for another girl. My daughter only ever gave money to Chen Qi just to earn a grateful kiss from him. She had no idea he would go to great lengths and spend lavishly just to make another girl smile. Of course, we all knew Chen Qi was simply playing the long game, fishing for a bigger catch. When Chen Qi's funds were nearly depleted, Jiu finally gave in and accepted his advances. Chen Qi was overjoyed. He hugged Jiu gratefully. "Thank you for giving me this chance. It wasn't until I met you that I understood what true love is." Lin Jiu smiled and said, "Then you better treat me well. If you're good to me, I'll be twice as good to you." After getting together with Lin Jiu, Chen Qi gradually began showing his true colors. He started complaining about how difficult things were for him lately whenever he bought gifts, emphasizing how much effort he was putting in. Under my guidance, Jiu began showering Chen Qi with red envelopes. Not amounts like 520 or 1,314, but sums like 1,000, 5,000, or 10,000. And she would always label them as the money you asked for. After Jiu started sending him red envelopes, Chen Qi became convinced of her status as a wealthy heiress. To solidify his relationship with Jiu, he began bad-mouthing me. He complained about how poorly I treated Tingting, how I looked down on him, and how I only sponsored him reluctantly because of my late husband. He even claimed I frowned disapprovingly whenever Tingting bought him clothes. I laughed when I heard that. He conveniently left out the part where Tingting spent 200,000 yuans on him. What else did he say? Lin Jiu smiled. "Exactly what you predicted. He advised me to stop my father from marrying you. First, because your company has debt issues and is in a sunset industry, which might affect my inheritance. Second, because you're scheming and have poor character, and you'd treat a stepdaughter even worse than you treat Tingting. And third, since he used to be Tingting's boyfriend, you'd definitely disapprove of us being together. For the sake of our future, we shouldn't let my father marry you." Lin Jiu asked Chen Qi to post about their relationship to prove his commitment. Though reluctant, Chen Qi complied. He set his post to hide them from Tingting, but Tingting still noticed something was off and sensed Chen Qi was cheating. All those luxury items he had been flaunting lately, how could Chen Qi afford them? She frantically called Chen Qi for an explanation, only to be met with hang-ups and impatient excuses. Finally, Tingting hysterically proposed a breakup. Chen Qi fell silent, then said coldly, "You're just a discarded pawn now. What makes you think I'd still like you?" Tingting was incredulous. "After all these years, you feel nothing for me?" Chen Qi hung up. Tingting cried her heart out at home. Chen Qi wouldn't answer her calls. Eventually, she stopped eating and studying altogether. She just sat on the floor, lifeless. I brought her a glass of water. Without looking up, Tingting said, "Now I have nothing left. No boyfriend. And you don't want me either. Are you happy?" "Why would I be happy to see you suffer?" Ting Ting looked at me despairingly. Chen Qi said we're incompatible. I know it's really about money. If you hadn't cut off my funds, he wouldn't have broken up with me. I smirked and splashed the cold water right into my daughter's face. Ting Ting shuddered and instinctively called me again. Mom, what are you doing? Listen to yourself. After all those years of education, is this all you've learned? What kind of man needs a woman's money to stay with her? Is he even worth your tears? Ting Ting fell silent, lost in thought. I asked her, have you let go now? Ting Ting hesitated. Maybe he has his reasons. Maybe he didn't want to burden me. My foolish daughter was still making excuses, deceiving herself. I knew I had to tear open the wound myself for her to remember it forever. Ting Ting, I'll give you one more chance. This time, keep your eyes wide open and see what kind of person you fell for. I called my secretary and asked him to find out where Chen Qi was. Yi Ting stared at me wide-eyed. You can even track that? Of course. I couldn't, but I could set a trap. Yesterday, I had Jiayu pass a message to Chen Qi, saying that Jiu's father, Mr. Lin of Juxing Group, wanted to meet him. Chen Qi was ecstatic. By now, they were probably already seated together. After theatrically obtaining the address, I asked Ting Ting if she dared to go. She nodded. I told Yi Ting that no matter what she saw, she should think before reacting. Then, I stormed into the venue with her in tow. It was a high-end private restaurant, but no one dared stop me. Everyone bowed respectfully. A server pushed a door open for us. Inside, Chen Qi was bent over, pouring wine for Mr. Lin. When they saw us enter, the smiles froze on all three faces. Chen Qi stared at Ting Ting and me in horror. What are you doing here? Ting Ting glanced around Lin Jiayu, Chen Qi, and Mr. Lin. She paused for a moment, then grabbed the nearest wine glass and splashed its contents into Chen Qi's face. Pointing at Lin Jiayu, Ting Ting shouted at Chen Qi, you left me for her. I pretended to be furious and glared at Chen Qi. You'd better have an explanation for this. Chen Qi put on a servile smile for Jiayu and her father, then turned to us with a completely different expression. Chen Qi smirked at Ting Ting. I did it for you. Don't you hate the idea of Jiayu stealing your mom? Just now, Uncle Lin said he won't marry your mother. Who would marry an old, low-quality woman with massive debt problems? When Yi Ting heard him insult me, she lunged at him, but I held her back. I frowned. Chen Qi, I sponsored your education for nearly 10 years. He cut me off before I could finish. Cut the crap. You're bankrupt. What right do you have to lecture me? If it weren't for you, would I have had to put up with your daughter for so long? Your husband was the one who chose me back then. You never wanted me. You never saw any value in me. You wanted that Lin Jiaoyu, that dirty, snot-nosed little girl who was nowhere near as good as me. I instinctively glanced at Lin Jiaoyu. She hung her head, her body trembling slightly. Then, Jiu's father stood up and said, now, Zhao Chen, is that any way to talk? Uncle Lin, I'm just speaking out for your sake. Even though she helped me, she's trying to trick you into acquiring a failing company. I'd rather be the bad guy than let you suffer. I don't want you to be deceived by her. It seems Chen Qi genuinely mistook Jiu's father for the CEO of Juxing Group. Looks like he spent a lot of time searching for information about Juxing Group online, but must have mixed up the faces. In reality, the Mr. Lin before him was just a retired executive I hired temporarily. The real CEO of Juxing Group is a woman, but that's a secret known only to insiders. Ting Ting looked up with teary eyes. So you never loved me? Chen Qi smiled, walked over, and took Lin Jiu's hand. This is my true love. I've endured humiliation under the shadow of you and your mother for so many years. Finally, I don't have to pretend anymore. So, in his words, all those years we sponsored him were him enduring humiliation. Ting Ting finally exploded. Chen Qi, you were the one who pursued me in the beginning. I stole money from my mom's card for you, gave you my monthly allowance every month, and you. Before she could finish, Chen Qi cut her off. His face turned pale with anger as he shouted for security. Security! Escort these uninvited guests out. Security! You bastard! You used my money to be with another woman, and you dare insult my mom. You're ungrateful and insane. Chen Qi quickly turned to Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, she's crazy. Don't listen to her nonsense. Sorry for the scene. A few security guards entered. Chen Qi pointed at Ting Ting and me. Throw these two out. I stood still, smirking coldly at him. The security guards clearly recognized me. They hesitated, glancing nervously at Mr. Lin. Uncle Lin, don't let these two scammers ruin our evening. Please have them removed. I can explain everything to you later. I walked over to Mr. Lin, who immediately stood up and offered me his seat. Please, Have a seat. Chen Qi froze. A deathly silence filled the room. Lin Jiayu was the first to laugh. Panicked, Chen Qi stammered. Jiayu. I sat down in the host's seat, my high heels clicking, and looked down coldly at the young man whose fog had completely crumbled. All of this is my property. Who exactly were you calling a scammer just now? Chen Qi retorted. What are you talking about? This restaurant is a sub-brand of Juxing Group. You're not even married into the family yet. And you think it's yours? I laughed. You've done your research, I see. But did you bother to check who the largest shareholder of Juxing Group is? Mr. Lin smiled. Please don't call me Mr. Lin. I'm just the manager of this private restaurant. It is indeed part of Juxing Group, but the person sitting before you is its largest shareholder. The words finally revealed the only fool in this game for who he truly was. There was never a Mr. Lin. Never a heiress of the Lin family. Everything was just an elaborate trap. Chen Qi muttered in disbelief. You've all been lying to me. He grabbed Tingting's shoulder. Tingting, how could you lie to me too? Yi Ting looked at him with utter disgust, swatting his hand away. Don't touch me, I said slowly. Everyone walks their own path. Did you never consider that someone might uncover all your schemes from the day you planned to seduce my daughter? You scammed my daughter for money, deceived her feelings, pretended to be a rich heir to meet wealthy girls. How does it feel? Living a life built on taking from others. Chen Qi's face turned ashen. He fell to his knees with a thud. I was wrong, Auntie. I didn't mean what I said just now. He tried to grab Tingting's hand, but she shook her head and stepped back. I was stupid before, unable to see through you. Now that I do, I realize how utterly disgusting you are. At that moment, Lin Jiayu also stood up and walked gracefully toward him. Do you remember me? Chen Qi was stunned. Are you another actress they hired? Lin Jiayu burst into laughter, even shedding tears. I had never seen her emotions so out of control. I'm that Lin Jiayu, the one you said was nowhere near as good as you. Dirty and snot-nosed. You pushed me into a dry well in the mountains back then. You almost killed me. Lin Jiayu shoved Chen Qi violently. He lost his balance and fell to the floor. No, impossible. Lin Jiayu looked at Chen Qi with profound sorrow. In your eyes, it was a chance to escape poverty. I could have forgiven you for that. But you indirectly caused my grandmother's death. I will never forgive you for that. She leaned close to Chen Qi's ear and whispered, my revenge has only just begun. Security dragged Chen Qi away. He screamed that this couldn't be happening, shouting Tingting's name, begging her to speak up for him. But he couldn't bring himself to look Lin Jiayu in the eye again. I legally reclaimed all the money Lin Jiayu had transferred to Chen Qi via red envelopes. The amount totaled several 100,000 yuan. I had consulted a lawyer beforehand. As long as the transfers weren't explicitly labeled as gifts or had special romantic meanings, they could be reclaimed. Chen Qi, who had always spent lavishly, panicked. He called me, begging and trembling, saying he had no money left, he had spent it all. I said, this will be handled strictly by the law. If you can't repay it, prepare for legal enforcement. Then I hung up decisively, just when I thought everything was over. Late at night, Tingting rushed into my room in tears, her voice trembling. She said an unknown phone number had sent her something. When I clicked on it, I trembled with rage. They were private photos of my daughter. Beneath the photos was a message. Tell your mother to drop the lawsuit against me by noon tomorrow and transfer 50 million to me. Otherwise, these photos will be sent to everyone you know. I will ruin you. I'm not joking. It was from Chen Qi. Tingting cried, Mom, what do we do? I was furious at her naivety. I spoiled you too much. Didn't you ever think about the consequences when you took those photos? Yi Ting lowered her head in shame. But perhaps this was for the best. I said quietly, I was planning to leave him some dignity. But since he's digging his own grave, he can't blame anyone else. I contacted Jiayu. She was a top student in law and had just been admitted to the most prestigious law school in the country. Originally, she was supposed to intern with our company's legal department this summer to learn relevant clauses. Instead, she ended up helping me with this elaborate scheme for so long. I felt quite bad about it, but giving her this opportunity would probably make her happy. Sure enough, when Jiayu learned about it, a faint smile appeared on her lips. He's backed into a corner. Don't worry, Auntie. Yi Ting's photos won't be leaked. I'll handle this. Watching the decisive and capable Jiayu reminded me of my younger self. Her future would undoubtedly be far brighter than Yi Ting's. Jiayu advised me to agree to Chen Qi's demands first to placate him. When Chen Qi found out, he was overjoyed. Over the phone, he insulted me arrogantly. You're clever, But you have a foolish daughter. In the end, you still have to beg me for her sake, don't you? You're mistaken. I don't have just one daughter. I have two. What do you mean? I mean, even if you think you have leverage over Ye Ting, Jiu's revenge has only just begun. My daughters are not pushovers. Lin Jiu quickly reported the case to the police not as an emotional dispute, but as fraud. The police swiftly arrived at Chen Qi's home, arrested him, and seized all his communication devices. Caught completely off guard, Chen Qi shouted that he was being framed. They set me up. Arrest them. I haven't done anything illegal. You have no right to take me. Unfortunately, no one was framing him. Reporting fraud requires verifying all the suspect's information. On the computer he desperately tried to protect, the police discovered many shocking things. Not only were there photos of my daughter, but also of many other girls. Chat records and photo packages amounted to several gigabytes. He didn't just date my daughter. He kept evidence of every girl he had been with, ready for future blackmail. His targets were all wealthy girls he had pursued. I quickly contacted news media I knew to follow up on the case. Soon, Chen Qi's name and his misdeeds became widely known. Many girls anonymously reported him to the police, accusing him of posing as a rich heir to date them and then threatening them. I threw my phone with the news article to Ye Ting. This is the boy you scrimped and saved for, spending all your money on. Ye Ting glanced at it and frowned in disgust. That's sick. I must have been out of my mind to like him before. Don't show me anything about him anymore. I need to prepare for school. All right. Jiu asked me to tell you to organize all the transfer records you gave Chen Qi. She's collecting evidence and might be able to recover most of the money. Of course, you have Jiu's contact. It's up to you whether to do it or not. Okay. As I turned to leave, Ye Ting stopped me. Mom, have I disappointed you terribly? I looked back at her. Ting Ting's face was full of regret, and she couldn't meet my eyes. I was wrong, Mom. I'm sorry. I wish I were more like Lin Jiu. I gently hugged Ye Ting. Yes, I was very disappointed. That's why, after this, I don't plan to let you inherit the family company. Your judgment and emotional maturity aren't there yet. So, focus on your studies, finish your graduate degree, and gain more life experience. I believe one day, you'll become someone I can be proud of. Ye Ting didn't say anything, just nodded silently, then continued organizing her study materials. Chen Qi's name was completely tarnished. He brought this upon himself and would likely remain in prison. After all, he did the deeds and must face the consequences. Some said he should just move to another planet. Others wondered how wealthy girls could be so foolish as to fall for such a man. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Wasn't my own daughter one of those fools? On the other hand, after submitting the evidence to the police, Jiu also prepared to start graduate school. I felt reluctant to see her go. Jiu comforted me, saying she would visit often. This had been the most thrilling summer of her life. The hatred that's been festering in my heart for so many years is finally avenged. Thank you, Auntie, for giving me this opportunity. I waved goodbye, filled with emotion. Everything was moving in a positive direction. Isn't life about overcoming one challenge after another? Good and evil will always receive their due retribution. That is the eternal truth.